Okay, welcome back. As Hashem, we're continuing with where we left off last week on this amazing discourse. We still haven't seen yet how Rav Nosson is going to connect everything he spoke about in the last class to Shabbat. If you notice, he spoke about Shabbat, his ideas that he wants to connect to, the idea of Shabbat being present in every good thing you do during the week. And then he went to explain the idea of Azamra and Ayeh. And now he has yet to begin to join them, and we still don't know if he's going to do it now at this point in paragraph 3, Sif Gimel. Let's see where he takes us, and Bezat Hashem, we'll follow with the flow. Rav Nosson is building an amazing structure. He's making a building based on Rabbi Nachman's teachings, and it's totally unique. It's something unique, and it's a foretaste of Gan Eden. He once said, Rav Nosson, about his book, his writings, the Likutei Halachot, that the world says that the Shla HaKadosh himself, he says that his book, the Shla, is the entrance to Gan Eden. And Rav Nosson said his Likutei Halachot is the Gan Eden itself. So, it's, for anyone who's learned Likutei Halachot, they can see that. It's unbelievable, this book. So let's see what he says here. So we're in paragraph Gimel, right? You have the Dersiv Gimel, Eruv Tchumin Al Chavav. V'chol elu hadrachim hakedoshim shel simcha v'itchazkut. Here we go. See, he's categorizing the two lessons of Azamra and Ayeh. He says like this: all of these holy pathways of joy, which is finding the good points, being in a positive attitude and mentality, that's simcha, joyous mentality, that's by finding the good points in yourself and others, etc. V'itchazkut, strengthening yourself, which comes about through Ayeh, that in the darkness you cry out to Hashem and then He opens up to you light, and you're mechazek, you strengthen yourself to continue. Tzrichin lelech bahem meod. He's very careful of his wording, and it's so important. A person has to be very careful to go with them very much. Ki bazeh, and we said this last week, he's saying it over again on a sharper term, in a sharper format. Ki bazeh talui ikar yahaduto kayadua u'mevan lechol mi sherotze liot ish Yisraeli be'emet lanetzach. Because in these pathways of joy and encouragement, by finding the good points, which also is encouragement, but also the second pathway of Ayeh, also of seeking out Hashem, in these pathways is dependent all of one's Yiddishkeit. One's whole Judaism is dependent on this pathway, these pathways of joy and encouragement, as is known and understood by anyone who wants to be a real Jew forever, for eternity. In other words, to hold on, not to drop it, God forbid. Aval, here he goes now. So we're connecting it to Shabbat. He begins now his exposition on Shabbat. Aval ein ha'adam zoche lelech bahem ki im bekoach kedushat Shabbat kodesh. Wow. But a person cannot merit to actually go with these pathways of joy and encouragement, like delineated in the last paragraph on Azamra and Ayeh, only through the strength and of the holiness of Shabbat Kodesh. And what does it represent, the holiness, the strength of the holiness of Shabbat Kodesh? Shubichinat koach hatzadik ha'emet. It's one, unbelievable. That really, the essence of the strength of Shabbat is the strength of the true tzaddik. He's introducing now a new concept, which he didn't speak about until now. That the tzaddik, the true tzaddik, is the concept of Shabbat. Shubichinat Shabbat. The tzaddik is the idea of Shabbat. And he's going to explain. He's going to explain how this is connected, how is this related. That Shabbat is the Shabbat. First of all, that Shabbat is the tzaddik, kmo shekatuv bazor, like it says in the Zohar. That in the Zohar, the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when he gave the biggest revelations, I think in the Idra Rabbah, they said to him like this: Ant Shabbat dechuli heyoma. You, Rabbi Shimon, you are Shabbat because you're entirely day. You're just light, shining light like the day shines. As Rabbi Nachman has brought this down many times in his writings, that the Shabbat, that the tzaddik is compared to Shabbat. So, but he didn't really explain. He just said that Shabbat is light because it's a day of light, and the tzaddik also is shining this light. So he's going to start explaining now. Because this holy pathway that we outlined, it's the pathway of singing to praising God, singing to God, with my little bit of good, finding the good points. Ikar ha'aratohu b'Shabbat. It shines, and this is really weird. I mean, not everyone sees this. We have to see how this works. It shines mainly on Shabbat. Ki bechol, because during the 6 days of the week, sheyesh bo achizat asitra achra, that the evil side has a stronghold on the days of the week, because there's an admixture of good and bad, all the ups and downs that we go through during the week, the confusions, the darkness, the light that we experience in the weekdays, vaklipot, the evil side and the husks, the evil forces, they have a stronghold on those weekdays, as is known, kayadua. So therefore, because they have a stronghold, they have some say in the 6 days of the week. Alken afilu hatova mitzvot sheosin b'me'achol. So it's a conclusion that even the good and the mitzvot that we do during the weeks, they're also mixed in with this admixture of the good and bad, of the evil forces. Yesh b'hem achizat asitra achra. Unbelievable. They have a stronghold. The evil forces have a stronghold in the tefillin we do, in the Birkat HaShachar, in the brachot, the Torah study, the mitzvot we do. They're not 100% clean entirely in holiness. They have some grasp by the evil side in them. And what is it reflected in? Shehu achizata atzvut. It's the stronghold of depression and sadness when doing the mitzvah, that a person doesn't do what he does during the week with the necessary simcha and joy. There's always a negativity in his attitude in doing them. It's not 100% like he's out of this world, flying. It's with a heaviness, like that attitude of just, passive and not so excited and happy about what he's doing. There's like a sadness, everything is regular. Kamuva b'dvar Avzal, and this is brought down in his teachings, Rabbi Nachman's teachings, on another pasuk. It's lesson 139 and lesson 277, which I just recently finished learning these lessons. Right? Pasuk tzedek lefanav yahalech. There's the verse that says tzedek lefanav yahalech, that the mitzvah during the week they're called tzedek, and we have to bring them that they reach the level of the face, the countenance. So Rabbi Nachman reads the verse. The pshat, simple translation is tzedek lefanav yalech. Tzedek will walk before him. Rabbi Nachman reads it like this: that tzedek, what's tzedek, which is a low level of mitzvot, we will let it walk to reach the level of the panim, the face. Lefanav, to the family means before, but also means lepanav, to the face, to the countenance. We want to elevate the mitzvot of the week to the countenance, and that's through Shabbat, he says. And in another lesson, that's through eating on Shabbat. Eating on Shabbat elevates all the mitzvot of the week. So here we go. He's saying mitzvot sheosin b'me'achol, but he's not yet saying that. He's just saying the first part, that the mitzvot we do during the weekdays, yesh tasitra achra achiza, the evil side has a stronghold, has an influence on them. Bivchinat, the idea, like he says in these two lessons, 139 and 277, the feet, haraglin shel mitzvah. Every mitzvah is like a structure. It has a head, arms, legs, a heart, torso, right? And the legs of the mitzvot are the lowest extremity of the mitzvot. That's where the evil has a grasp, on the feet, on the low part. That's their hold. Okay? Like it says, Bivchinat raglea yordot mavet v'chule. It's a verse in Proverbs and Mishlei. And her feet descend to death. And he's interpreting her feet, meaning the feet of the mitzvot, of the holiness, they go down to the realm of death, etc. And because there is this influence of the evil side on the mitzvah during the week, ein ha-mitzvah yechola le'elech u'lehitpa'er lifnei Hashem yitbarach. Wow. Because of this, the mitzvah that you do during the weekdays cannot go forth and become full of glory, be glorified, to be proud. When doing the mitzvah, it's coming with such a heaviness that you don't feel the exceptionality and the specialness of having this mitzvah done. So, and because how you did it also is heavy, the mitzvah itself that you've created, because it's the first time in the creation that's you're doing on this date, on Sunday, June 14th, 1987, you did this mitzvah. It's the first time ever, and it's a wow experience. But because the person is so heavy and weighed down because of the evil side's influence during the week, So he doesn't value this mitzvah. Yeah, I've done it 5,000 times already, putting on tefillin every day and doing a mitzvah. So what? Whoopee-doo. So because the person's attitude is just okay, it's regular, it's normal, it's nothing nothing exceptional. So the mitzvah itself doesn't have its ability to go forth before Hashem, because every mitzvah you do goes up, and it tries to praise itself. I was done by so and so on such and such a date, etc. So it's very kept down. It doesn't have that. The mitzvah doesn't have self-confidence before Hashem to say, yes, I'm this mitzvah. It doesn't have its value, the self-value. Aval keshemagia Shabbat, but Rabbi Nachman teaches in these two lessons, 139 and 277, that they're both based on this verse. They have this verse as a major part of the lesson. Tzedek lefanav yalech, right? That we mentioned earlier. But aval keshemagia Shabbat, when Shabbat comes along, Az olin haraglin me'aklipa vasitracha. It is then that the mitzvot we do go up from the level of the feet. In other words, the feet of the mitzvot are elevated from the evil forces, the husks that have their influence and stronghold on the mitzvot. They only go up on Shabbat. So in other words, we do the mitzvot. Ideally, I should have such a positive attitude. So should I say, if I'm not going to do it in a positive attitude, so I might as well not do it at all? No, we don't say that. We say, do it as you're doing it, and wait for Shabbat to come along, because when Shabbat comes along, it elevates all the mitzvot that you've done during the week. In fact, believe it or not, the joy that people feel on the beginning of Shabbat, if you're Zoche, most people have this experience, that in the Friday night davening, especially by Kabbalat Shabbat, especially by Lecha Dodi, people have a high. There's a high, a spiritual high. That high is due to, this is also explained in the Arizal's writings, that all the mitzvah they did during the week, they're finally going up at the beginning of Shabbos. That's what you're feeling now. You're feeling that, all the mitzvah are going up now. That's the joy I'm feeling on Friday night. So he says there are a lot of Rav Nosson in Likutei Halachot. So because of that, a person should do as much as he can during the week, and not so much worry about the quality of what he's doing, but be concerned of the quantity. Because when Shabbos comes along, it pushes you up. Everything goes upwards, and also you have a push. So that means it won't always be like that, okay, every week I'm heavy and burdened, and then Shabbos comes along, I'm up. I want to reach a level that I have Shabbos mentality already on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I want to get to that. I want to get to the level where I'm doing the mitzvah with such joy, feeling it. I want to get to that level, not to be always heavy and pushed back and down during the week, and only on Shabbos I have this experience. I want to get it already during the week. So what happens when eventually it accumulates so many Shabbatot that you've done elevating this mitzvah, and it brushes off on you, you change after every Shabbat, so you reach a level, Bezat Hashem, that it's no longer heavy in doing the mitzvah during the week. You're so connected, and you value and you're joyous in doing the mitzvah. That's the goal, Bezat Hashem. It's all like, it's never going to happen, it's only for big tzaddikim. It's within reach, he's trying to tell us, Bezat Hashem. Okay? He goes now. All this he says in these two lessons, 277 and 139. Amazing. This is the essence of the holiness of Shabbat, of elevating the mitzvot from the clutches of the evil at the feet of the mitzvah and bringing it up. That's the whole essence of the holiness of Shabbat. That's what's happening on Shabbat. Everybody has a high. What does it mean everybody has a high? You're pushed to experience a level which is above your true level. Your true level is, unfortunately, how you are during the weekdays. Shabbat is a boost above your level. And by the way, that's already why Shabbat and the tzaddik are synonymous. Because a tzaddik is someone who's above your level, and it gives you a taste of his level, which is above your level, so he's pushing you up, feeling a higher level. Shabbos does the exact same thing. That already we see is the connection between Shabbos and the true tzaddik. Okay? And this is, he's saying, the essence of the holiness of Shabbat, of doing this, of bringing the low upwards, like the verse says regarding Shabbat. And he brings that, this verse also is in these two lessons. Im tashiv mi Shabbat raglecha. Rabbi Nachman interprets the verse. First of all, the simple translation is like this: that the pasuk is warning us you can only walk up to a certain boundary. And the prophet, it's a verse from the prophets. I think it's Yeshayahu or Yechezkel, I forget which book. He says there, Im tashiv mi Shabbat raglecha. If now you refrain your feet from walking on Shabbat. In other words, you rest on Shabbat and don't pass the 2,000 boundary you're allowed to walk on Shabbat, right? And then the verse goes on to say all these blessings you'll get. That's the pshat. And Rabbi Nachman reads it like this: if you have the merit to return on Shabbat, the mitzvot from the feet, in other words, from being pulled down by the evil during the week on the feet, because the evil side is taking the feet of the mitzvah and pulling it down. You're trying to bring it up and he's yanking it downwards. So it's a dilemma and it's a battle, it's a war. You're not always happy with doing the mitzvah because of this yanking of the evil downwards. So he's saying, if now you have the merit to bring back, to return, to restore mishabbat, thanks to, from Shabbat, right? Raglecha, your feet, the feet of the mitzvot. Okay, that's how Rabbi Nachman interprets the verse. Ve'az, and then on Shabbat, matchelet ha-mitzvah lelech lifnei Hashem yitbarach. The mitzvah begins to walk in front of Hashem. In other words, walking upwards on steps, going up now, as opposed to just walking straight or walking down. Now the mitzvah is able to go upwards towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, upwards. Hashem yitbarach mishtasheh ba, and it's at that point on Shabbat that Hashem takes delight from the mitzvah, umitpa'er ba me'od, and he gains tremendous glory, praise, hitpa'arut. He's glorified from the mitzvah very much. There's a better word, I just can't remember it at the tip of my tongue, but I'll get it eventually. Even if the mitzvah was done with such constricted levels of consciousness, the person was so out of it. He's in the morning, half dead, putting on his tefillin, saying Kriyat Shema like a zombie, davening like a zombie, but at the end he did the mitzvah. It was done with such kadnut, and you're not doing it intentionally. You're just a victim of the situation that you're in with the evil surrounding you, and in that you're trying to do something good. You're trying to do a mitzvah. So no wonder the person's going through katnut gadol, a lot of constriction on that in the doing the mitzvah. And he's saying, even if the mitzvah was done with such constrictedness and such smallness, afal pichen merov chibato et Yisrael, nevertheless, because of Hashem's tremendous love for the Jewish people, Am Krovo, look at the terms of Noson's going into. His nation that he's close to, the nation that he's close to the most, Am Krovo, who mishtasheh ba me'od, because of his love for the Jewish people, his closest nation to him, he therefore delights in the mitzvah very much. Ve'oseh mizeh derech kvusha, and he makes from the tiny mitzvah that you've done a concrete, strong, and wide path for you now to reconnect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's the beautiful Rav Nosson on this elsewhere, that he says, because of this, do as much as you can during the week, and don't worry so much about the quality. Have in mind during the week the quantity. Shabbat is different. Shabbat, to aim for quality is good, but during the week, do as much as you can, because that will then brush off on your experience on Shabbat. Everything goes up. Everything goes up on Shabbat. Your goal, yes, is to get the quality and quantity in doing your mitzvot. But in the meantime, if now I have an option, or to do a little with quality and rarely, or to do a lot quantity but not with the quality, so he's saying aim for the quantity, because anyways, be smart. Take a look, it's an investment. Shabbos is going to take it up, and you're going to be elevated also, and it's not always going to be like this. It's like a diet program, do as much as you can, and eventually it's going to get better, B'ezrat Hashem. Alright? Hashem makes from it a fixed path, and this fixed path is something phenomenal. It's developed there in lesson 277, that the tzaddikim use the mitzvah that the Jewish people do, and that Shabbos elevates them, so this creates pathways of the teachings and the light of the tzaddikim to become more revealed in the world. This happens especially, he says in our lesson, by the eating of Shabbat. Because he said like this, that normally you experience the high at the beginning of Shabbat, but really the ultimate elevation of all the mitzvot you've done during the week take place when eating the 3 meals, especially when you get to the 3rd meal of Shabbat. That's why it's so important not to skip any of the meals of Shabbat, because the meals you do on Shabbat is what actually is going to be elevating all the mitzvot, and by extension making a fixed path. That's what he's saying. He doesn't want to go into this point because it's going to go so off context and off a topic by going to lesson 277. He wants to develop a specific point. But you should know that it makes something big when a person does mitzvah during the week and then Shabbos elevates it. So through the eating, through the experience of Shabbat, this causes new pathways to be revealed in the world. New books of the tzaddikim come out. People connect more, are more attuned to discovering and following upon teachings and guidelines of the tzaddikim and the tzaddikim themselves. That's how great it is to eat on Shabbat, and that's how great it is to do mitzvot and to allow Shabbos to elevate them. Ayin Sham, he tells us to look there because that's where we have all the details of what he's speaking about and its further development. So now he's taking the ideas that he just mentioned here and bringing them into this lesson of Azamra. Normally Rav Nosson doesn't do this, but here he's doing it because he wants to more stick out the connection between Shabbos. So to do it, he has to borrow from another lesson. Normally in the Likutei Moran, every lesson is so complete, everything you need to expound on the lesson is in the lesson itself. That's one of the rules in the Likutei Moran. However, Rav Nosson sometimes, like he's doing here, will borrow from another lesson, and he's borrowing it just temporarily to bring out an idea. And once he shows you the idea, you can see it clearly now in the lesson itself. He had to borrow it because of our lack of understanding, and yet it's clarified better in another lesson. So just for a moment, he brings us to another lesson. Once he gets the point across, you'll see it in the lesson itself. So now watch. This introduction was now to show us how these ideas are also in this teaching, Likutei Moran lesson 282, Azamra, finding the good points in myself. So here he goes. So this idea now is much more clarified, is clarified now based on what we've mentioned above. Here we go. Ki bechol hu bechinat eved. Here we go. During the week, a person is considered like a servant, a slave. The attitude of serving Hashem during the week is like a slave servant, as opposed to Shabbat, which is like a son. You bring a son of Hashem. During the week, it's like servitude. It's difficult. It's like, I'm doing it because I have to do it. Shesham achizat atzvut. And when a person feels like a slave, a servitude in his Judaism, in whatever he's committed to, so there's room for atzvut, there's room for sadness in doing it because you're not happy. Oh, I wish I was elsewhere, I was this, I was that. You're not connected so much with what you're doing because you're forced to doing it, like a slave. As is brought down, this idea, the difference between distinction between a slave and a son, as the difference between the 6 days of the week and Shabbat, that's brought down in another lesson. Again, he's borrowing from another lesson, okay? That's the name of the lesson, Yemei Chanukah. Lesson 2 of Likutei Moran, part 2. Al-Ken Gama Mitzvot Sheosin Az, so because the attitude of during the week is servitude, slavery, that's a hard word, being a slave to Hashem, no one wants that term. But being a servant to Hashem sounds nicer, but even being a servant is like out of obligation. I'm forced to, even when I don't feel like it. So there's room for, like we said, sadness. So therefore, that's the attitude of during the week, that's the mentality of during the weeks. Al-Ken Gama Mitzvot Sheosin Az, so therefore even the mitzvot that we do during the week, Az Yesh Bahem Achizat Atzvut, they have also on the mitzvah that you do the stronghold of sadness, like you said earlier. And that this sadness that we're going through, you see, because earlier he said a statement that the mitzvah of the weeks have the sitra achra, the evil side connected to it, and they're the aspect of depression. He didn't explain that connection. Now, with the idea of servitude, it comes out more the idea of depression, because not always do you want to do it. Like someone who's a servant to his work. If I'm not there on time, I'm going to lose my job. So I kill myself, rush myself, even though I woke up late and I'm upside down and I'm not ready for this, but I have to do it. So that's servitude. It's not out of love and happiness and joy, because I'm now upside down, all messed up. I didn't get my hair ready, I didn't drink my coffee, I didn't eat breakfast properly, I had to daven fast and everything to be on time. So that's servitude. So there's room for sadness, and it's reflected in the mitzvah now. That's clear. And sadness is the expression of the evil side during these weeks. Okay? Okay, the mitzvot we do then have also the clutches of sadness on them. Like we said, this itself is the holding of the evil side. And the mitzvah mentioned above, he's expounding what he said earlier just to show the connection clearer. That is having a hold on the feet of the mitzvah that you did during the week. Like we said, bivchinat raglea yordot mavet, the idea of the verse from Proverbs again, that her feet descend to death. Ki ikar achizat, Rav Nosson is really going over the ideas. He wants to bring out a good point here. Ki ikar achizat asitra achra hu al yidei atzvut. This is coming to show us this connection. He's coming to show us the following: that the main stronghold of the evil side on anything is reflected in sadness. Sadness, what is sadness and depression? It's called sitra demota, the side of death. We're not showing death, evil side, sadness, they're all one. When a person's doing a mitzvah with not enough joy and simcha, that has death on it now, evil side on it, and sadness. So you might think, so don't do the mitzvah. I say, no, you do the mitzvah, you do as best as you can, but with the hope that it's going to be fixed, which is going to happen on Shabbat, right? But the goal is that I don't have the mitzvah with the sitra achra attached to it. Because the sitra achra, when it's attached to a mitzvah, it can't destroy the mitzvah. It's holding on the feet, but it's a klipa. What is a klipa? It's like a peel. The peel doesn't influence the fruit. It protects the fruit, maximum. But it doesn't destroy the fruit inside. Never do you see an orange peel that ruins the fruit inside. No peel will come to ruin what's inside. It tries to gain nourishment. It lives off of it. Yes, a parasite. But it doesn't destroy it. It doesn't ruin it. The energy of the holiness is there. Just the klipa is taking it for itself. It doesn't diminish. It's like, it's not sucking out the energy of the holiness. No, it's redirecting it. There's a big difference. It doesn't have an influence. Okay, so the mitzvah it's diminished in its light because it's lacking that energy. No, the light is diminished because the sitra achra is taking it. It should be shining, but the shining is going in the wrong direction. So therefore, it's diminished in that sense. But it's not, God forbid, diminishing it. It's just taking a stronghold on it. What we have to do is to get it off. So it's death attaching it to the mitzvah, the evil side attaching itself to the mitzvah, depression attaching itself to the mitzvah. What we have to do is to try to separate that. But not by, okay, so I won't do the mitzvah. That's the wrong mentality. To say, so I don't do the mitzvah, then if it makes me sad and depressed, to say to him this, so I'm not going to do it. They have some people who have that type of attitude. And that's wrong. They're just saying that's the wrong attitude. You do the mitzvah, because if anything, what's going to bring you out of your galut is doing mitzvot. If anything, doing good, there's no room to say, you see, I did something good, and now I feel worse than before. Don't blame the mitzvot. Like in Sichot Haran, Rabbi Nachman's wisdom, there was a guy who had a big sickness in his arm. It was very he had a big makkah on his arm, and his friend brought him to Rabbi Nachman, I think before Rosh Hashanah, like to give him a bracha, and the man was bemoaning his situation of the pain, and the man next to him, the friend, said, and he even went to the mikveh like that, and it made it worse. So Rabbi Nachman said to the friend, why do you blame the person's lack and difficulty on the mitzvot? Why do you blame on the mikveh that now he's worse now and it's bad, it's even worse? Blame it on the person's sins, not on the mitzvah that he did. And that people have this mentality. Because they feel that when they do something good, so now I'm worse off than before, so it must be because I did the mitzvah that it's worse. That's a wrong way of thinking. You're doing good. That's the best thing you can do in the world. The bad is from other things. The Yetzirah is attacking you more and everything. So you say, so don't we not do mitzvah? No. The way to get out is doing mitzvah. That's the right thing. You have to be patient. Hold on in this battle. Don't give in. You'll find tactics. But the reason why he's attacking you, if anything, is just because you're doing mitzvah, because you're close to the gate. You're about to open the door and be freed, B'ezrat Hashem, right? So let's go back to this thing. Okay, ki ikar chizat esitra achra, or the atzvut shu sitra demota. I just went up a few lines. Sheze ikar, here we go. Sheze ikar bechinat galut hashchina shemitgaber b'me'achor. These are big terms of Noson's using. This is the essence of this concept called the Shechina, the divine presence is in exile. The divine presence being in exile is expressed in the depression that people feel in their mitzvah performance during the week. Now you should know, mitzvah performance is not like once it comes by me. The Mishnah Berurah, the very beginning of the Mishnah Berurah, the very first halacha and biur halacha, he brings down 6 mitzvot that a Jew can be doing constantly, except for when in the bathroom, obviously. So that means that the day can be technically filled with mitzvot, but the person is so sad in doing them, so negative in is doing them. And again, it could be his fault, it could not be his fault. Mistama, it's his fault if his sins in the past are now trying to prevent him. And it's expressed in this battle that he's going through and doing the mitzvah, and he's experiencing sadness while doing it. He doesn't experience such a light and simcha. This is the expression of the divine presence being in Galut. That's what when we say that we're now in Galut, the Jewish people are in exile, and that the divine presence is in exile. Where is it expressed most? In how we do the mitzvah during the week. It's not expressed, okay, we're in exile, Mashiach's not here, everybody's suffering, people are sick, people don't have money, people have marital problems, people have problems with children, and this and that. That's not the essence of the Galut of the Shechina. The essence of the Galut of the Shechina is my relationship with the Shechina in my mitzvah performance, and that I'm not so happy in doing it. That's the Galut, the Shechinta begalut. That's the exile of the Shechina, the divine presence. Shemitgaber b'miachol. That the main time that the exile of the Shechina, the divine presence presents itself, takes place, is during the week. And he says, Kmo shekatuv b'Torah emtzaita da'alma. Wow, how many lessons Rav Nosson is bringing in one paragraph? Like is brought down in another lesson in Likutei Moharan, lesson number 24, where the main theme of lesson 24 is doing mitzvot b'simcha as the key to coming out of your exile, to coming out of the galut. Ve'az, and he's going now in more detail what happens when doing the mitzvot with a lack of simcha, right? Ve'az migodel itgarbut hachoshech shel ha'atzvut, and then during the week, the 6 days of the week, when you're doing mitzvot, because of the severe attack and the stronghold of the darkness of sadness that's prevailing during the week, when doing the mitzvot, because they're holding on to the legs of the mitzvot you do during the week. Tzrichin, during the week, you require yegi'ah gdola v'atzuma levarer hatov sheba mitzvot. You need tremendous strain and koach, a lot of work and toil in order to sift out, to separate the good in the mitzvah, to bring it out, to shine it again. It's shining, just that it's like you put a shades on the mitzvah, so it's dark. You got to take off the shades, so the light which is shining can now reveal it's shining. It is shining, but it's just covered up with the shades now, like sunglasses. Okay, I want the mitzvah to shine. I have to take off the shades from the mitzvah. Okay, amazing his analogy here, his idea here. So we need a lot of work during the week to bring out the good in the mitzvot. And he's explaining what is the idea of bringing out the good of the mitzvot. Watch this. Rav Nosson is phenomenal. If only we can remember this always. Dahainu, in other words, lehazkir et atzmo b'nekudot tovot shebo, lesameach et nafsho, lehazkir et atzmo halo af al pichen ani oseh mitzvah. Unbelievable, Rav Nosson. What is the main toil in bringing out the good in the mitzvah? Is when you remind yourself, because that's the biggest thing. People say, if only I can remember these things when doing the mitzvah. We learn about these things theoretically when learning Torah. Everything is theoretical, learning about the ideas. But now when it comes to doing the mitzvah, I also want to remember this. I want to keep this idea in my head. Why isn't it happening? Why can't I remember when doing the mitzvah the ideas that I learned about doing the mitzvah? Why can't I use it now? That is the sitracha, the shechina, the dark, the exile of the shechina, the sitracha, the evil side, the side of death, depression, showing its presence by making you forget and appreciating what you're actually doing. So that means if I had the ability to remember when doing the mitzvot what I'm actually doing, I would definitely be happy. But the thing is, I'm just overwhelmed. Who's causing this overwhelmingness of negativity during the mitzvot? It's a sitracha. So he's saying to remember in myself my good points inside of me when doing the mitzvah, because you see, when you come to doing a mitzvah with such a good attitude, automatically the mitzvah you're doing is filled with simcha, because the mitzvah in itself is like an entity, and it's just waiting for somebody to do it properly with such joy. When a person now approaches a mitzvah of simcha, so for sure the mitzvah is shining itself to the person. It's like yearning for the person to do it, because I would like that the mitzvah of tefillin would be done by such a Jew who's doing it with such simcha. Ideally, that's how it should be. It's not always like that, but this is the goal. And the mitzvah itself wants to connect to a person when he's doing it with such a positive attitude. And the positive attitude starts, number one, that a person reminds himself of his good points. Another word for self-value, self-confidence, all these modern terms that they use, psychologists and everything. This is the idea of good points inside of himself. L'sameach et nafsho, and the person can bring himself, his soul, to joy. Le'azkir et atzmo, to remind himself. Forget about how I'm doing the mitzvah. Nevertheless, I'm doing the mitzvah. I'm doing a mitzvah now. That itself, he's saying something amazing here. The joy shouldn't emanate from how you're doing the mitzvah. The joy in doing the mitzvah should emanate the fact that you're doing the mitzvah. And then how you do it will come out afterwards. I'm not concerned, I didn't do it like I wanted to do it and everything, so I'm not happy. I'm already happy at minimal. I'm touching the mitzvah. Thank you, Hashem, thank you. Just minimal. That's what's needed, that's what's required for doing the mitzvah during the week. That I'm already happy, that's the fact that I'm doing it. To remember that during the week, that's the key for everything else. That will lead to then a heightened experience in doing the mitzvah, much more than you expected, etc. It starts with what? Going low and being happy with basic. I'm doing a mitzvah and I'm so happy just about that, and I'm not feeling ridiculous about it. I'm so proud, that's the word, proud. That Hashem is proud, right? Glory and proud. That I'm so proud of myself that I'm happy to do this mitzvah, just doing it already. Thank you, Hashem, from where I came from and everything I've gone through, that I'm still alive and able to do a mitzvah. Thank you, Hashem. I'm so appreciating it. It's not taken for granted. Like some people, they take it for granted because their whole life they were from and brought up from and everything. Yeah, it's understood in the mitzvah, so they don't value it anymore. But that person who comes from outside, like a convert or about tshuva, in his beginning, initially, he values everything. It's such a merit to put on tefillin, to keep on Shabbat. They feel it in the beginning. To maintain that though, to continue with that, to remind oneself of the good points inside of me, to be happy with my soul, to bring joy to my soul, and to remind myself that nevertheless I am doing the mitzvah. And even if the mitzvah is as it is, it's coming from such a schlep like me, such an upside down person like me, and it's being done like so like it is. Halo al kol panim yesh ba nekudot tovot, but nevertheless it has good points inside of it, right? In the mitzvah that I'm doing, and I'm focusing on this. I'm focusing on the good points in the mitzvah because I have many limitations. I have many setbacks and shortcomings when I'm approaching the mitzvah. So automatically, when even doing the mitzvah, it won't start at 100%. It won't start at 100%. It starts at whatever level it is, with good points inside of it. And me, when I'm coming to the mitzvah, what am I focusing on? I'm focusing on the good points in the mitzvah. How do I focus on the good points in the mitzvah? Because I'm focusing on my good points in doing the mitzvah, that I'm able to do this mitzvah. I started at a point. One point, the initial point. The initial point opens my eyes to begin to value the good of the mitzvah, as opposed to a person said, there's like two sides, the cup is half full or half empty, right? And you have people, they always look at the half empty as, look at this. What are you saying? Look at this, look at the good side, look at that. How come it's not happening? Because of the lack of azamra, in the lesson, right? Okay. As we go to the find one up a few lines, 1 second. להזכיר את עצמו, נפשו להזכיר את עצמו, הלא אף על פי כן אני עושה מצווה, ואם היא כמות שהיא, הלא אף על פי, על כל פנים יש בה נקודות טובות, אשר נקודה אחת של מצווה קלה, here we go, that even one point of the lightest mitzvah, של הקל שבקלים, from the lowest of the low, the lightest, very superficial, surface level Jew who has nothing about Yiddishkeit, nothing in his head, an airhead, ein kol haolam kedai la. With all that said, the whole world, everything that the world has, all the riches and delicacies and amazing vacation spots and amazing wonders of the nature and everything that the world can give to me in experiences and a Pink Floyd concert or whatever, I don't know. All these things that people have as the biggest life experience, nothing in the world that's offered by the world, by the best movies, the next, the box office hit and everything that everyone's running and killing and plutzing to go see, nothing adds up to equivalent of even the simplest point in a mitzvah done by the biggest lowlife in the world. Rav Nosson is very, powerful here. If people would go with this, they would be much better off, people in the world, if they had this in their pocket. And I'm speaking also for myself, if we had this, always this attitude, we'd be on a different plane. Things would be, you get through things much easier. Such unnecessary difficulties in life would just be eradicated by having this simple attitude, this amazing attitude. But then he goes on. Let's finish a little. But because of the severe darkness, so you say, so how come I don't remember all this? This is great. How come it doesn't come to me at, when it comes to being on stage, the stage fright, and I forget about all this? How come? But because due to the extreme darkness of the weekdays, which is another wording for a stronghold, a strengthening of depression and sadness in the world, shehu anpin chashuchin, which is like a dark-faced person. Dark-faced meaning sad face, no expression, no life, no joy, right? When a person faces the mitzvah with such a negative attitude, it's so hard for him to remind himself of all these things. He knows about these things in theoretically, in potential, but I want it actually. The blockage is the darkness of the week is preventing me from connecting the potential, the theoretical that I learned about, to making it actual at the time of doing the mitzvah. Preventing a person from bringing himself life, revitalization, and to bring joy to himself. And sometimes because of this itself, let's see how he's going to explain it. I think what he's going to mean is that when you begin to think, I should be happy and I'm not being happy, you feel even worse, more guilt than before, and you just want to drop it all because you know how it's supposed to be done, and it's not working out, and you're negative in doing the mitzvot. So about this itself makes a person feels even much more worse, that he wants that the Yetzirah convinces a person to drop it totally. The evil side convinces a person that they want to bring a person down in his mind, bring him that the person himself should bring himself down totally, because, and he explains, Shemaskirin oto. Here we go. I think I was right in explaining it like that. Shemaskirin oto ribu avonotav u'b'sha'av ha'atzumim, that at the time of doing the mitzvah and he didn't get to do it right, and do this proper simcha, and he knows about it, that he couldn't do it right. They remind him, the evil side, the sadness, reminds a person at the time that he's doing good, ribuy avonotov, the abundance, the big packages of his sins and iniquities, hatzumim, ve'echu male pgamim b'kilkuli b'cholet, and the person is so filled with such blemishes and a lot of damage, always. And it comes to him up front when he's trying to do the mitzvah happiness, they make him feel even much worse. To the point where a person, it seems to him that there is no hope, zero hope, God forbid. What's the real truth in this situation? What's the attitude I should take in this situation? It's not me. These thoughts in my head, in my subconscious, in my justification that everything is finished and that's it, is simply, completely an act of the evil one. These are the acts in plural of the evil one. Because this is a rule he says many places in Rav Nosson and Likutei Halachot. This is not at all the pathways of humility. This is not humility. This what we just spoke about now is not humility. Rather, rakabal davar mitnakel alav. It's just that the evil one is trying to play games with a person, lahapilo legamre, using a justification, a rationalization why you're far, in order to break a person and to bring him down, knockout, total knockout, God forbid, chas v'shalom. And because of this severe darkness the person's going through during the week, it's true, he's trapped. And what do you want from the person? There's a rule, right? En chavush matir tatzmo. A person in jail can't free himself. You're in the weekdays, it's dark. The attitude is dark already, it's negative. It's sitra achra time during the 6 days of the week. As much as I do mitzvot, I'm in battle with the Yetzirah. So it's expected that a person is going to have negativity during the week. It's understood also. It's not like, look what I'm going through, only I'm going through this. That the person with the mentality, the green is always grass, and the grass is always greener on the other side. Other people, they're not going through what I'm going through. It's not true. It's the weekday attitude, their weekday mentality. That's their job. That's their battle. The Yitzhara. That's what they're trying to do. That's their mission. That's what they're here for, right? Because of the severe darkness, it's hard for a person, very hard for a person, to remind himself, to put in it, to etch and fix on his heart, to remind himself, just even to remind himself of the good points. It doesn't work out. How then can it work out? Lulei Hashem ezrata lanu b'chol yom u'b'chol et. Wow. Were it not for that Hashem helped us every day and every moment, shemisabev b'niflaotav atzumim, that Hashem makes all types of amazing situations in His wondrous, awesome ways, that He sends us a reminder in all the darkness. It could come from like a magazine, a commercial, a phone call from a friend, and you just said something that just rang a bell to remind you that Hashem sends little points of reminders in the darkness you're going through. He sends you just like a video to remind you of the reality of the situation. Shenuchal lehaskir atzmo, that a person can remind himself, lelech im derech hakodesh, to go with this holy pathway of azamra lelokai be'odi, that I sing to my Lord through my little bit of good. Teila la'el, praise the Lord, right? How Rav Nosson expressed it here, you won't find it in the Likutei Moran. He really elaborated it. So look what is he saying? Ayen sham heitev heitev. Look again there. When he's saying there, he's referring to, it seems, the lesson Azamra, lesson 282. Look there very, very carefully. V'tuchal lechayot et nafshecha tamid kol yemei chayecha. And you'll be able to bring life to your soul always for all the rest of the days of your life. We'll stop at this point because it's pretty long and it takes time to absorb this. It's kedai to go over this class B'ezrat Hashem. And like I always say, take a look at Rav Nosson's beautiful prayer on the lesson Azamra, prayer number 90 in Rav Nosson's 50th gate. And for those who are listening on video, you can contact me for any questions if you have concerning the class at Meir, Meire, at Breslov, Breslov.org. Shalom and thank you for joining.